So good morning, everyone. I'm really quite surprised that, that people are awake. I hope you had a good evening. I certainly did. And a very good morning. Okay, we have a brief presentation because some of our delegates are leaving before it's possible to make a further presentation. So, Anna Ruth.
Hi, I'm Anna Ruth. I'm the International Commissioner from CNE. Sorry to start with the presentation, but we will leave soon. So I would like to present you one activity that we will have in Portugal in May. It's the Youth Empowerment Study Session. And I don't have to explain what youth empowerment is, but it's a key strategy priority for WASM. So we are trying to work on it and understand different approaches of youth empowerment in our society. So we would like to invite you to be in Portugal 9th to 12th of May. It will be in Lisbon and Cascais. It's another city nearby Lisbon. And the main idea is to promote the exchange among different peoples working in organizations and youth empowerment, and to create some bridges between the academic world and the work in the field on youth empowerment, combining also the academic world with the scouting. And not only in scouting, different organizations that work with young people at the moment. And also to promote different views, exchange ideas and perspectives and good practices. So in this sense, we would like to gathering different kinds of participants in our event, not only scouts, but also from different kinds of different associations and every kind of participants that can contribute to the development of the empowerment in the young people. Like if we can consider it like the young people are in a learning environment and then can be affected by family, by scouting, by the school, by the society. So the idea is to combine everyone at the same place and discuss the youth empowerment. So, and we would like to have different. This is an event not only for Portuguese, but also international event. So this event we will have one first day. It will be the 9th of May. It's an open day conference, more open to the society. It will be in Lisbon in the university. And in the other 3 days, it's a residential seminar that we will work further on this. We will have different kinds of activities like workshops, discussion panels, roundtables, and visits to different kinds of projects also, and a market sharing good practices. So you are invited also to participate in our markets and also to participate as a participant and to share your knowledge. And for the international participants, we will consider that the event, you don't have to apply only for 1 day, because going to Portugal just for 1 day, you consider the event like the 4 days. So the open day conference will start on May, and it will be during all the day, and we have these speakers from Wisconsin Medicine University, and then we will have the rest of the seminar in Cascais. So the prices, you can have all this information in your papers and also to visit our website. I don't have to explain it everything, but just to know, like you can arrive on Wednesday, or you can arrive, if you arrive on Wednesday, we will recommend you, because you can arrive in the end of the day and then you can stay longer. So if you stay in a, not in a single double room, the price, it will be something like 60 euros for all the 4 days, including meals and everything. So you don't have an excuse of price. And for Portugal, you can fly through Ryanair to Porto or through EasyJet to Lisbon, or because it's also a very short way from Porto to Lisbon. And if you need some help to stay extra days, you can also contact us in that sense. And these prices, it's until 3rd of April, but if you stay longer, if you can apply also longer, between 1st of May to 7th of May, and the prices will be a little bit higher. So those are the informations, the contacts. So you are invited and to take 1-2 persons, or maybe more. How many persons do you want to participate in this event? And we consider that will be a good opportunity to share different perspectives and to know how can we make the difference also in scouting comparing to the other parts, and how can we improve the youth empowerment in the young people. And this is the poster. So we've sent also by email. I think you have enough information, but if you have some doubts or something, please contact us. And we will have another activity in Portugal also. It's our National Sea Scout Camp. It will be in August. It's called Oceanos. And if you want more information, actually after we will send by email, but if you want more information and to be aware that we will have this activity, you can contact us also by email. So I will just invite...
Just for the final, from Portugal, we used to say at last but not the least, isn't it? So just inform you that Portugal will also appoint a candidate for the European Scout Committee. So don't get surprised when you'll see the final list. She's a...
No, sorry.
I know?
No,
I
sorry.
No, I thought it was... Sorry, David. Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
Sorry, guys. I thought you could do this in the following information. Yeah. Sorry, it was my fault, okay? Sorry. I was not
It's okay. I think in fairness to everyone, it would be unfair that one person has a plenary presentation and others do not. I think that I understand the commitment. Okay, I hope this is what you've been waiting for. Certainly at 2 o'clock this morning, we were hoping that what we had just concluded would be a reasonable reflection on what your deliberations were. So I hand over to Craig.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Are you all wide awake? Yes. This is an important session, so we're going to ask you to try and remain awake through it. It's maybe worth pointing out here that as well as saying good morning to you in the room, there are about 400 people outside of this room who've been watching what we've been up to from all around the world, which is fascinating. First time that we've done this. It's very, very good. So, as David said, your European Scout Committee last night had to depart from this room where there was some fantastic partying going on, but we had to leave here at 10 o'clock. We went upstairs, we locked ourselves in a room with coordinators and staff, and we tried to make some sense of your work. And that process took 4 hours. We started by looking at mission, vision, and values, and then we created an affinity diagram from all of the cards that you completed, and we think we have arrived at a draft, a proposal for your consideration this morning. And this is the proposal that we'd be considering in more detail when we come to the Regional Scout Conference in Berlin. The first point that we'd like to say is that we've not actually got a title yet for the plan. And in the current Regional Scout Plan, we have a statement in it that says, the mission of the European Scout Committee, as it seeks to implement the Regional Scout Plan, is supporting growth in changing times. We've not spent any time really thinking about the title of it. We wanted to get on to the substance, the content. So there's a question mark there about what the title might be. And there was a comment yesterday about the title, and perhaps the title needs to be a bit more attractive. So we'll give that some thought between now and Berlin, but we also think from your comments yesterday that growth may be a word that features somewhere in the title or theme for the next plan. We wanted to come up with a statement that tries to define our vision, and you'll see a date in here that says 2019. And I think what we picked up from the discussions yesterday was that we need to have a longer horizon. We need to be thinking further than 3 years. And so this is the statement that we're proposing at the moment based on what you've been saying. Our vision, that is all of us, not just the committee, the office, etc. Our vision for the European Scout region in 2019 is that we should be youth-led with increasingly diverse and growing memberships. This is an attempt to synthesize the key points from the work that you did yesterday. In the current Regional Scout Plan, you'll see a number of other statements that try to elaborate on the earlier statement. So in 2019, we would see the European Scout region as empowering youth members to take an increasing role in our development and growth. We see the European Scout region as reflecting and valuing the societies in which we operate by becoming more accessible and open to all. We see the European Scout region as encouraging greater gender sensitivity in the provision of youth programme and ways of working. We see the European Scout region as collaborating with partners in the world around us. And we see the European Scout region as increasingly interconnected with improved opportunities for networking. The values that we want to see carried forward are transparency, collaboration, networking, flexibility, responsiveness, and creativity. Now, we're going to go on to the next bit, which is to look at possible themes for the Regional Scout Plan. But before we do that, I'd just like to get a sense, an initial reaction from the floor as to what you've just seen. Is there anyone in disagreement with what you've done, or what we've done on your behalf? Okay. What we then did, as I said earlier, was take all of the cards that you produced, and very quickly we established that there were quite a lot of cards that were actually related more directly to what we call our core services: educational methods, organizational development, external relations, and funding. And we asked ourselves, does this mean that we need to look at our work in a different way? Should we be looking at our work from the perspective of our core services? Or should we be looking at the plan from the perspective of the big themes that have been identified? And we were concluding that I think the themes are still important because the themes are actually transversal. And the two proposed themes that have emerged from that work are diversity and inclusion and youth empowerment. This is quite a radical shift from the current plan, where we have 5 themes and 3 core service areas. Here, we're talking about, for the next 3 years and beyond, the possibility of having 2 themes, supported and underpinned by the 3 core service areas. And indeed, a number of comments that we've received are that we need to focus on doing less, but do it better. So perhaps there's an opportunity here with 2 themes to be more focused. I'm now going to call on my colleagues to say a few words about the specific themes and also the core service areas. So, Christos, could you step up to the podium and tell us a little bit more about the proposed theme on diversity and inclusion?
Good morning, everybody. So starting with diversity and inclusion, we see that there is the main aim of this thematic is scouting to reflect the diversity of society from a minority ethnic diversity side, socioeconomic diversity, or gender. As Craig said before, we see these thematics as transversal. They encompass the 3 core services. We see that the diversity and inclusion should have a gender-sensitive programs which need to be planned and implemented and supported. We have to encourage organizations with diversity in leadership, and of course these somehow should be reflected in numbers. We should be recognized by our partners in the external world as a diverse movement. We should recognize diversity in scouting, and we should promote it in the policies with our external partners. Permi?
Permi is now going to talk about youth empowerment, the second theme that we've identified. Permi, over to you.
Good morning, everybody. The same as in diversity and inclusion, in youth empowerment, we do work with the 3 core service areas. So you will see that there might be even more interconnection in between the themes and the core areas than we are having at the moment, and we've been trying to have a lot of that interactivity and crosswork. So we are planning on having, based on your inputs, having at least the same amount, maybe better quality of interactivity in the next plan. In the area of youth empowerment, we want to be a movement for and by young people, for and by youth, so that one day we don't really need the topic of youth empowerment because we would be only doing scouting, and that would mean that we are youth empowered. In the area of educational methods, we want to focus on learning the skills for youth empowerment, on citizenship and intergenerational dialogue. The intergenerational dialogue is something that has been mentioned a few times over this past weekend, and it's not the first time the topic got mentioned. And it's not only in the educational methods area where we want to focus on that, and we feel it's something that is a very useful and very valid addition to a more narrow concept of youth empowerment. In the area of organizational development, youth in the lead in our organizations, and building intergenerational organizations as well. So not necessarily everybody needs to be 16 to 24 in the leadership of their associations, but we need to make sure that young people and more experienced people do have their roles in the leadership of their organizations, and there is a clear understanding of what their role is, and that there is support for young people by the more experienced, and there is a place for the more experienced as well. And in the area of external relationships and funding, we want to see youth participation in society. So by Scouts coming into the society and being active in citizenship, and by showing youth participation to people who have not gone through Scouting themselves as well. Thank you. And the next one, Christian, please can you say something about the educational methods?
Morning, everyone. Educational methods, again in the mood. One of our more important core actions is, of course, educational methods. We are an educational movement and organization. Educational methods is having impact directly in the youth program and in the adult resources in our NCOs and our NCAs. After the work here in this symposium in the last sessions during yesterday, we can affirm that the focus on this area for the next triennium should be as shown on the screen. Volunteering, especially into main domains as management of the adult resources and volunteering resources, and also recognition, following the work doing during the current triennium. As a second theme, we can consider co-education to ensure that the educational proposal of Scouting is having in account the needs, the differences, and the reality of boys and girls. Moving to the age focus, our efforts and strategies during this period will be for sure around the Rubber Ranch, offering initiatives as Rubber Way and others, and also considering new actions, perhaps for ventures, and probably also for CAPS. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Christian. And next up, we have organizational development, and Andrea, welcome. Good morning.
Morning. So, organizational development, the efficiency, the impact, the relevance of the work of the region is affected very strongly by this core area. The relevant structures and processes helping the delivers for Scouting, that's the aim of our organizational development. The global support is a part of this, and extremely important part of organizational development. And our proposal for the focus 2013-2016 would be to strengthen internal communication, to take care about the new technologies, to see how to implement at the best the new technologies for the benefit of our members, the management training, and as we know, the tailored support, not only from the region to the NSOs, NSAs, but also facilitating the tailored support between NSOs and NSAs. So giving them a platform and facilitate this kind of tailored support. As said, these are proposals that we put here in the plenum for discussion, hoping that we will have a feedback from you. So, next core areas, Henrik, external relations and funding.
Thank you, Andrea. So the third core area is external relations and funding, as you know, and you know that this is about advocacy, our work with the European institutions, with other youth organizations and many other partners. What is proposed here is that in this particular core area, a specific focus in the coming triennium would be on the image of Scouting, then to look a little bit more at the private sector and corporate social responsibility, which is something that we haven't done so much in the current triennium, to ensure that the different public policies that impact Scouting are in line, then to obviously to continue our relations with our strategic partners. Here I mentioned just as examples the Kandersteg, WAGs, the other regions, and similarly with the different organizations who have consultative status with WASM. So that slide concludes the presentation of the three core areas imagined up to now. Up to you.
Okay, thank you, team, for helping to present the outputs from the work that we did last night. Very shortly, we're going to have provide you with the opportunity to ask questions of us. We'll try and answer them, so get thinking now about what you've seen and any questions or reflections that you might want to share. A reflection from me, I think what's quite interesting with this is that we have seen a number of your proposals be more directly related to the core service areas, and the core service areas are the elements of our ways of working that are providing continuity between the triennia as well. The other reflection that I think I would make is that it might seem, in terms of themes, very minimalist in the sense that we've brought everyone here, we've done all of this fantastic thinking, discussion, working, and we've come up with a couple of words. The proposal from this point forward would be to, first of all, see if there is anything that you think we've maybe missed or that you've missed that needs to be incorporated somewhere in the draft plan. And then after this weekend, we will share with you the draft document, the output from the symposium. We'll invite comment on that, and at the June meeting of the European Scout Committee, we'll be finalising the draft regional scout plan to be brought forward for your consideration and, all going well, approval at the Regional Scout Conference in Berlin. So, let's open the floor for some discussion now. And do we have someone ready with the mic? Radu, thank you. Look at him run, wow. So the floor is open. Does anyone have any questions? And if you do, please stand up, say who you are, where you come from.
Elise from France. No, I wanted just on the theme of diversity. I didn't see rural and urban, and I know that we had a lot of discussion on going more in rural area. Mm-hmm. So just to add, if it's possible.
Okay, thank you for that. Committee, make notes, please. Anyone else? Please give us some feedback. Nigel.
Mike's coming at me from all directions there. Answering your plea from the front, Craig, I think the two main themes of diversity and inclusion and youth empowerment match very well with what we're trying to do in the UK. So in terms of having some joined up or some consistency, I think that's really helpful. And certainly to us, they are two of the key areas that we're wrestling with at the moment in the UK, so absolutely applaud those. I think having fewer main topics is also a big advantage, and that by concentrating on fewer areas, as you said, will enable us to maybe do our work better and be well focused. I think what I'm particularly pleased about is that I think all of the areas that have been talked about are real areas that probably most NSOs struggle with. Doesn't matter if you're an old one like us or a relatively new one. I think they're all areas where we can all learn from each other. So I think they're good. Look forward to seeing it develop towards the conference in Berlin. Thank you.
Thank you, Nigel.
Thank you very much. So, Nizam from France. I appreciate to see the theme of the diversity and inclusion. When we go inside of this point, you told about the statistics, the team of the national board, or I don't know, there was something about, and also the image of scouting. I appreciate this thematic, but I think that we have to go more than just the image, because it is easy to take a picture with children with different backgrounds. So okay, if I can joke, one Arabic, one black guy, and but the picture is just the image is not enough if we are not doing it in our concrete work. So maybe we could think about how we can work, but it will be also the work of all of the organization here to work on. But also if it could be more than just image, it would be great. Thank you.
I think that's a very, very excellent point, and I think what we're trying to highlight is that the theme is something that is potentially transversal, and yes, there's a bit on image, but that should not be the substantive part of it. That's actually the easy bit sometimes. It's all the other stuff which I think some associations find much more difficult that we need to put our focus on, and that's often to do with processes, procedures, approaches, as much as anything else. So thank you for that input. Lars.
I don't like your smile when you say that. Lars from Germany. I like the topics in general because there are topics that are relevant in my association, but I see that these topics were already on the agenda the last years in some sort in the other topics, and they had absolutely no impact from European level into my association. And at the moment, that was also parts of the discussion I had yesterday, I'm not really seeing in some of these topics what are the concrete actions that are coming from the European level that is affecting my association, who's already dealing with in a specific country-specific way regarding this, and so I'm looking forward to see some more concrete information on that. The second bit, I was wondering, we had this very nice discussion document with our future part, which I really appreciate, and I thought it was a very good idea to send that out in advance with very concrete questions. And I was talking with my national board, with members of my association, try to get a broad answer to a lot of questions, and a lot of questions that were in the document haven't been addressed at all here during the symposium. So my question there would be, is there anything else planned, or is this in the comment section to the proposed plan where we can bring in the input to very concrete details that were asked in the document? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lars. A quick response in terms of the actions. You're absolutely right. This is lacking in any detail in terms of the actions, and you're also right in highlighting the fact that these themes also feature in the current plan, and many associations quite rightly ask, what's the connection here with the work that we are doing in our association? We want to try and learn from the positive experiences with these themes in the context of what we've done in the current triennium, learn from that, and increasingly try to make sure that the actions that we have are more relevant and focused on how associations can pick them up and work with them. The global support approach, the tailored support approach, the consultancy approach allows us, I think, to work more directly with associations in these topics as well, and that's been a development in the current triennium. You raise a very good point about the discussion document, and the plan is that at 10 o'clock, assuming that we've managed to deal with questions and answers and this stuff, that the plenary session will then turn our attention to, okay, we provided the discussion document to you. Is there anything in the discussion document that you've not touched upon in the discussions yesterday that you want to raise today, that we can then listen to and hopefully find ways of incorporating into the plan? It's something that needs to go into the plan, or something that we can note that may be to do with the ways of working. So we want to pick up on that this morning, Lars, so thank you for the reminder. Okay, next.
Donc, Samuel de la France. Alors tout d'abord, je trouve que c'est très intéressant le travail qui a été fait. Et pour moi, le fait d'avoir un focus sur 2 priorités va permettre de plus se concentrer dessus et d'aller plus au fond des choses.
So Samuel from France, thank you very much for having 2 topics, 2 themes only, because by having 2 themes that will allow us to better focus on these 2.
Nous avons parlé hier du lien avec les autres régions et par exemple le lien avec la région Asie-Pacifique nous semble vraiment très intéressante et l'Europe, on peut avoir l'impression des fois d'être isolé. Ce pourrait être intéressant de pouvoir travailler dessus et voir comment on pourrait faire évoluer cela.
Yesterday we discussed about the different partnership with the different region, and one of them being the Asia-Pacific region. In Europe, we might feel that we are slightly isolated sometimes, so I'd like to have probably this point included in the plan as well.
Thank you, very good point. It was something that we discussed last night as well, so we're very conscious, I think, of the need to ensure that in the collaboration that we have with other regions, that it's not necessarily exclusive to the 3 that we focused on in the current triennium, but we actually engage with all of them. Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Don Lawler from Ireland. Chairman, I'm anxious that our plan also takes into account the recent releases on EU policy on youth affairs. At the recent EU presidency conference on youth affairs in Dublin, issues of inclusion were identified, and quite specifically youth work leading to preparing young people for employment, and employment leading to inclusion, education, inclusive education for all young people, participation, equal rights and equal opportunities, and support for social and youth services for young people. I believe there are very strong resonances in our plan, and I think there is great benefit for our European region to make sure that we align and that we indicate clearly to the European Union that our plan is their plan.
Thank you, John, for that. Henrik, I think, has some reflections on that point, that being an area that he's particularly excited about. Henrik.
Thank you, John, and thank you for the Irish presidency for having brought up the issue. No, indeed, I don't think there is a contradiction, because the logic of the plan, as you have seen, is that each of these proposed themes rests on the 3 core areas. So indeed, the points that you raised would be in the intersection of diversity and inclusion with the external relations work. And the focus on these policies would be somehow fitting in that part of the proposed plan.
Okay, thank you, John. Thank you, Henrik. Do we have any more? Yep, we do.
Hello, my name is Bridget. I'm from Austria. What I do not find in this word is the word growth. So if there is finally a definition or a theme on the top, I would like to have this word growth in it, please.
Thank you very much. That, I think, echoes what we were saying a little earlier in relation to the title for the plan, where we have a question mark at the moment. But clearly, from the cards that we went through last night, growth was also appearing. But what was not appearing was we need to have a strategic or a theme on growth. Growth is something that should be running through everything that we're doing, I think. But thank you for the reflection. That's very helpful.
Good morning, Michael from Switzerland. I had one question or one observation. I think it's very good that we have reduced the strategic objectives or the themes to work on. One question my delegation or my association was wondering if you had already any thoughts or ideas how the joint work with WACS could look like, or where possible synergies with WACS could be found for the next triennium. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Yes, we did have a discussion last night on that point. In a wider sense, yesterday, as you know, we had a session in the afternoon where we talked about our partnerships, our joint work, including with WAGS, and we believe that when we start to look at the specific actions as well, that will highlight where there's opportunity to work in partnership, whether that be with the European Youth Forum, or with WAGS, or with Candesteg, or with the Volunteering Alliance, that we will find a way of ensuring that actions are also implemented in partnership where it makes sense for us to do that. So we are conscious of that. We have to bear in mind as well that we will want to share with WAGS the output from this symposium, and there's a discussion that we're having in the context of the Joint Committee in the preparation for Berlin, where we know we need to come to Berlin with some joint thinking as well about the future. So yes, we are conscious of the suggestions that you've made. Thank you. Any more reflections or questions? We have a couple now. Oh, it's getting exciting.
Good morning.
Good morning.
From Belgium. I have two questions, or rather a question and a request. First, on educational methods. In the slide it was mentioned that it's also to do with management of volunteers in Scouting. And I was wondering why that is under educational methods and not in a separate core service as adult resources as it was previously. And then my request was, when we speak about external relations and funding, we mentioned the work that we do with institutions and our partnerships there, but I would very much like to welcome you to also look at what other youth NGOs are doing, members of the European Youth Forum, for instance, and see what we can learn from them and how we can work with them, because we don't always have to invent or reinvent the wheel ourselves. So not just for external relations, but for anything that we do. And I was hoping if you can share some words on that.
Okay, I'll try. I'll take the second point first. In one of the earlier slides, we talked about how we wanted to be open to collaborating with partners in the world, and I think if we interpret that in its broadest sense, it's saying that we are open to looking at not only our existing partnerships that we have, which we talked about yesterday, but other partnership opportunities that may help us with the implementation of the Regional Scout Plan. I don't think we gain by having a closed mentality to getting the regional plan done. So I hope that helps answer the second question. In relation to the first point, I may be a little unclear as to exactly what it was that you were saying. I think you were saying that you were curious to understand why it was under educational methods. I think what we've seen in the last few years is a more integrated approach to looking at youth program and adults in scouting, that the two are interconnected, and within adults in scouting around management of volunteers, etc., there's more work to be done. Indeed, that's why we've also got some good work being done by Pavel as well in the context of this triennium, but also with his work outside with that other alliance that he's looking for a logo for. I'm not sure if that answers the first point, because I'm not sure I picked up the question exactly, but do you want to come back on that? Okay. Thank you. I think we had Karin next.
Thank you. Just to keep this short, make a quick reflection from the context of the global strategy on WASM world level. First of all, congratulations on only 2 themes. This is definitely progress. The simpler, the better. Secondly, looking at the priority themes that we're working on WASM world level, of course, as you're all aware, we have the fascinating situation of working with 2 triennia, since the global triennium will not end until next summer. So firstly, reflecting on the priority themes we are working with now, which you've also heard presented on Friday, I think they seem to fit quite nicely. From a content perspective, we are working on Youth for Change, which falls under both of these. The leadership topic I have not seen mentioned specifically, but I I would assume that's very central skills when we're talking about youth empowerment and developing skills in young people for youth empowerment. So, and then under organizational development, you brought up the global support, which is the main support mechanism that we're developing globally. So I think this gives very good, well in the same direction while recognizing the regional needs. As you're also aware, the fourth priority that we're working with is the revamping the global strategy. So thinking about what's going to happen after next summer in the next global triennium, it's very difficult to say at this moment because it's very much work in progress, as you heard. However, the only reflection I'd like to make at this stage is that, as you've also heard, the direction of the strategy development is likely to be more decentralized and tailored to regional and NSO needs rather than global and centralized themes. And in that case, I would encourage you to just run, and then we see what happens. Thank you.
Karen, thank you for your reflections. When David Berg was talking about strategy, the world strategy and regional strategy, encouraged us to make sure that we are operating inside the box, as I think he described it, and I think that's what we're doing. I think we have come up with some themes that will also hopefully create some synergies between work being done at world level and in the region. On the point about leadership, thank you for highlighting that. I think it's an important point that's also connected with the input that John was giving as well. And you know, this is not the end of the process in developing the draft of the regional plan. I think we'll be also taking time to look at other things that are happening at world level as well. With regard to the comment that you made about the World Conference, you know, coming up, I think, as has been previously practiced, it makes sense for the region to review the regional Scout plan shortly after the World Scout Conference to make sure that we're also living up to the obligation that NSOs have to ensure the implementation of strategy at world level as well. So I think it's up to all of you to bear in mind in the preparation for, during and after Slovenia. Thank you, Karen. Lars.
Sorry for second question round. I have one practical question regarding, we now are reducing our strategic objectives from 4 to 2. That means we are losing some of the topics that the last European conference had. These are very important topics for us. So my question would be, how are you planning to have a transition period between the regional plans? I hope not that just after Berlin we're dropping everything that we have done on a certain topic. So what's the plan there to incorporate some of the elements maybe in the new plan, or how to close up a topic so that we say, okay, a lot of volunteers, a lot of resources in the last 3 years haven't been wasted on something. And a second question, very concrete, regarding the last strategic objective, partnership with other regions, because that was one, according to my memory, one of the very important topics where in Brussels a lot of associations had that very important topic for us. And from my team that is working my association on this issue, I got the feedback it is an important topic, it is still an important topic, but we don't see a very proactive programmatic approach on European level, but there should be some sort of coordination function that should still be on European level in these contexts. And I'm sure our partners in Africa or Asia and in the Arab region would be wondering why no one is calling them anymore. So I have the question how we are proceeding with this topic.
Thank you, Lars. A couple of questions in there. I'll try and deal with the first one first. The transition from the 5 strategic priorities to 2 strategic priorities. We also discussed last night how NSOs, NSAs might respond to that, particularly if they don't see something within the two themes that's necessarily important to them. Do they then feel that, well, there's nothing in this regional plan for us? That's a risk there, I think. I think that with regard to that transition phase, that's something that the committee was discussing at its most recent meeting, about how we ensure that we don't have a stop-start in Berlin, and that we're running right up to Berlin, and then the day after, it's all change. I think the outgoing committee and the incoming committee will be hopefully smart enough to ensure a smooth transition, and that some of the work that's in plan already is being delivered through the core services. The core services provide that continuity from one triennium to another. We've also been having some discussions as well about how we keep hopefully some of the volunteers that we have in working groups and core groups also operating during that transition phase as the new committee gets its feet under the table, rolls up its sleeves, and it gets down to work. So there is some thought being put into that transition phase to make sure that it's not disruptive and that it actually makes a connection with some of the work that we've done in this triennium and for the future. The second point about partnerships with other regions, again, someone else has mentioned it in here this morning, and I think on that point, certainly from the committee's perspective, what I don't think we're saying is that partnerships are no longer important. They're even more important. And indeed, in the statement at the top of the presentation, where we talk about being open to partnering with people all around the world in its broadest sense, again, it's not just external organisations, but also internally within WASM with all regions. And how we accommodate that in the regional plan, I'm not quite sure yet. We need to put some thought into that. But we also need to remind you of your opportunity that you have at the conference when it comes to the resolutions, encouraging the committee to take note that it's important for the committee to focus on partnerships, for example. So it's in our minds. Please be reassured. Okay? Any more questions on what you've heard and seen? We've had to deal with quite a lot of information here, presented in a rather hurried way. We need to share this with you now so you can reflect on it in your own time, try and make sense of it all. But before we move on to the next point in the discussion, again, I'm just keen to get a sense, after hearing people's comments and questions, whether you're still comfortable with where this is going, or are we in completely the wrong track? I'll take that as some kind of recognition that we're moving in the right direction. So Lars very kindly earlier in his first intervention was reminding us of the discussion document entitled Our Future Path, which the committee produced some months ago now, not to guide you, but to try and illuminate our thoughts and ideas on the issues that may be important for you to consider in your preparation for this event. And this is an opportunity now to try and highlight those questions or issues that are presented in that discussion document that you would like to have an exchange on in the room this morning. So the floor is open again. What we're asking you to do here is to pick up on any issues that were presented in the discussion document that you would like to explore further here now. And to get the ball rolling, Lars, would it be fair to say that you may have some reflections, comments? Just a guess.
Not at all, but I can make some up. without going too much in specific details, because I think that is something we can easily deliver in writing, and then when you're thinking about specific things, you can have a look if there's concrete feedback by any NSO regarding a special item. Just the general comment that I had from all the answers I got out of my association is the two topics we also were discussing in the global issue. So transparency, very important to have financial transparency over things, to have transparency regarding decisions. There was, for example, the decision of Roverway, where we had a bit of feeling, okay, that was the election of the next pope was more transparent than the question, what were the reasons, what were the different concepts. I think we're happy with the outcome, and it will be a great Roverway, but for my association it's a question how we can have such a decision very transparent in the region. And the second big issue next to transparency is efficiency. A lot of participants from my association are in European events, in network meetings, in other events, came back and said, there was a very inefficient event because some goals were not very clear. You had a very mixed participation scheme, so that people came with different expectations. You saw sometimes that there was a lot of people from working groups or committees, and you couldn't really see what's their purpose, or if someone is just arriving for an hour giving a speech and hasn't been seen after that in an event. These are the things where I'm getting back feedback back from my delegates, that they hope that we can make it a bit more efficient on European level, that it's I think we all agree we don't want to waste any time, not of the volunteers of the European level, not in the NSOs, so a focus on that to see if with very good invitations to make perfectly clear what's the goal, what's the participation scheme, so that were the two core points that I got out of my association to contribute to all the topics.
That's enormously helpful, Lars. Thank you for that. I mean, in relation to the point on transparency, an issue which is very close to my heart, we've tried, whether we've succeeded or not is up to you to decide, but we've tried hard to become more transparent with the things that, certainly in the European Scout region, we've got control over. So the annual review process turned into annual reports. Something that's not replicated in other parts of our structures, giving you some insight into what committee members have been doing over a 12-month period. 3 times a year we're communicating to you the reports from our 5 working groups and 3 core groups, with very little editing. They're quite raw, if you like. It's the same papers that are received by the European Scout Committee itself. And I think that's not where transparency should end. There's much more that can be done, but I think there's a desire to keep progressing in that direction. With a specific comment regarding Roverway, that's very helpful feedback. I wasn't aware that there were concerns like that, and given that Roverway is a joint event, and I think there have been some comments about our transparency and communication in terms of our progress and work together with WAGs, that there's, I think, scope for improvement there, and I think that's something that we can pick up, Pascal, in the discussions that we'll have moving forward. So I appreciate that reflection. That's very helpful. With regard to events, as we know, we can't please all of the people all of the time, and we try to work with the evaluations that we perform to understand whether our approaches are working well or not. And it's true that we've had very good participation levels in a number of events and fewer cancellations of events in recent years, and that increased enthusiasm to participate in events does present challenges for us. Some of that, I think, comes back to associations when they are thinking about who they want to send. We often talk about us wanting to work with the leadership of NSOs and NSAs because it's through the work that they then do in their own associations that we can realise the development and growth. But often at events, yes, we do see extremes from people who understand some of the concepts that will be being discussed, and others coming to events who are really completely unfamiliar with the concept, and it makes it a big challenge for our trainers and facilitators to try and accommodate all of that. But yes, we take on board your comments that we need to continually have a focus on improving how we prepare, deliver, and evaluate and improve the events offerings that we have in the region. Okay, any other comments relating to items that were included in the discussion document?
I was at 2 tables yesterday where I found that there were some very good ideas about how we can better coordinate tailor-made support in the future. I understand that that's more the how we're going to do it than what we're going to do it. But I think that there were very good inputs, at least from those 2. I didn't see it in the slides. So how are you going to go about how we're going to deliver as a region? This is more what I see now, the why. The what, sorry.
Just to clarify, do you mean specifically with tailored support? Including. Yeah, the why and the methods is a discussion that still has to be had, but I think when it comes to tailored support, which we're calling global support now to ensure that connection with the work being done at world level, that we continue to see that as being really, really important way of having an impact on the work that associations are doing. And there has been an evolution in the region from tailored support being delivered through a very small team of people, delivering tailored support to a small number of associations, to now tailored support being everyone's business in the region. At the moment, the committee, the working groups, the core groups, the office, and indeed people from our consultancy pool are, as you know, all conscious of the fact that it's a desire that we have to be able to work more directly with associations on issues that are important to them. So don't see tailored support, global support, consultancy disappearing, but we have to find ways of improving it as well. And the interconnected networking remarks that were made earlier are recognition of the fact that it's not the case that challenges that associations have can only be answered by the region. You know this yourselves, that sometimes if we can provide the glue and make the connection so that associations can support each other, that's also a good outcome. Okay. Claude? Here we go.
It's not a question, it's just an input. From my personal experience I had in the last 3 years, which I enjoyed a lot working for the region, I sometimes had the feeling that the way we chose the person who went to deliver tailor-made support was more by the fact that we knew him and that at a certain moment we were at the same table with him, so it was handy to just put on him, than actually by trying to find the people that had the right amount of time and the right amount of competencies. And I think this is something, even if we call it global support, and where it's now going to be, if I understood, more linked to the World Office, we have to make sure that on both individual level and NSO level, we gather the data on where people feel comfortable to deliver the tailor-made support, rather than due to a certain urgency we also had in this triennium to quickly find people to fill up the points. I think that would mean that we could deliver actually even greater value to the NSOs, just as an input.
Thank you, Claude. I fully agree. I think the Global Support Consultants Network that we heard about on Friday is something that we need to ensure that we're actually using. And that may mean, for example, that in terms of consultants to work with your associations, they don't have to be coming from Europe. There are other associations around the world as well who are having similar challenges and have consultants who are willing. Indeed, other regions, other associations around the world have been looking for expertise from Europe to go and help them. So I think the global support consultants network and the database that we have is going to become increasingly important for us in the region as well, to make sure that we look at global support globally, as the name suggests, rather than just from our regional perspective. Thank you. Any other comments or questions following from the discussion document? If none, then it's 20 past 10. Just to remind you again what will happen next with all of this stuff. We will be sharing with you the raw output from this session in full transparency on the web, and between now and the regional committee meeting in June, would invite you to reflect on that, speak with your committee contact or the office direct with thoughts or concerns on things that you think may be missing. But bear in mind that at this moment there will be no reference to specific actions in the Regional Scout Plan. That's something we need to do more work on ourselves. We need to spend a bit more time looking at the cards that you produced. But in closing this session, I want to thank you for giving us the opportunity yesterday evening to try and make sense of your ideas. We talked on Friday about this not being the Regional Scout Plan for the committee and the office. This is hopefully going to lead to our Regional Scout Plan that we together can help to implement in the future. So thank you for your inputs yesterday and for your feedback today and questions as well. It's been very, very helpful. Thank you very much.